Everyone thinks they know why pizza makes so much money. Cheap ingredients, flour, cheese, tomato sauce, sold at a huge markup to people too lazy to cook. That's the assumption. Flour costs pennies, cheese costs a little more, and somehow a box of it sells for $18. Easiest math in the restaurant business. But that might be the wrong way to look at it, because the real danger in owning a pizza chain isn't that any single ingredient is expensive. The real danger is that everything expensive in this business is quietly propping up everything else. Cheese prices support the dough discount. The dough discount supports the delivery fee. The delivery fee supports the app commission. The app commission supports whether anyone even orders from you at all instead of the guy 3 doors down. Pull hard enough on any single one of those threads, and the whole large with extra cheese comes apart in your hands. A pizza chain isn't built like a restaurant. It's built more like a house made entirely of load-bearing toppings. It's got a kitchen, a delivery fleet, a loyalty app, and one very expensive walk-in freezer nobody budgeted for properly. From the outside, it still looks like the simplest food business on earth: dough, sauce, cheese, box, done. But underneath, too much of the whole operation depends on cheese prices staying calm, delivery drivers staying available, third-party apps staying reasonable, and customers staying loyal enough to order direct instead of tapping the app that takes 30% off the top. That is not a simple business. Welcome to Finance Your Business, where money, power, and history collide, and nothing is ever as simple as it looks. So if you still want to own a pizza chain, here's what's actually baked into that $18 box, and it starts with a number that should scare you before you've even signed a lease. Here's what's actually going on underneath the fantasy. Because on paper, pizza should be one of the most profitable foods a human being can sell. The core ingredients, flour, water, yeast, cheese, tomato, cost a fraction of the menu price, sometimes as little as $3 to $5 in raw food cost for a pizza that retails for $16 to $20. That's a food cost margin most restaurants would kill for. And yet the average pizza restaurant in America runs a net profit margin of just 6 to 9%, barely better than a fast food burger chain, and worse than plenty of unglamorous businesses nobody dreams about owning. A pizza chain can move 1,000 pies a week and still hand its owner a profit smaller than a mid-level city employee's salary. So, why does everyone still want in? Familiarity, mostly. Pizza is one of the only products on earth that every single demographic already trusts before you've opened the doors. Kids want it. Parents don't fight about it. Every office orders it for lunch meetings. Every college town survives on it after midnight. You're not introducing a new food. You're plugging into a craving that already exists in nearly every household in the country. That's the appeal. Now, let's talk about what it actually costs to plug into it. First, you need permission, and it's more layered than most first-time owners expect. A food service permit from your local health department, inspected on everything from walk-in cooler temperatures to proper hand-washing stations. A business license specific to your city or county. If you're planning delivery with your own drivers rather than through an app, you'll also need commercial auto insurance riders for every vehicle on the road under your name, because a standard personal auto policy doesn't cover an employee crashing while delivering your pepperoni pizza, and that gap has bankrupted more than one small pizza operator who found out the hard way. When people budget a pizza shop, they picture an oven and a counter and stop there. The real total build-out for a single quick-service pizza location, franchised or independent, regularly lands between $150,000 and $600,000 once you add the commercial pizza oven, walk-in cooler, prep equipment, POS system, initial food inventory, signage, and enough working capital to survive the slow opening months. A well-known national pizza franchise can require a minimum liquid capital requirement of $80,000 to $150,000 just to be considered as an applicant, and total investment for a single unit, including the franchise fee, can climb well past $500,000 in a competitive real estate market. And there's a rule most first-time owners don't find out about until they're already deep into the contract. Most major pizza franchise agreements include mandatory equipment and supplier requirements, meaning you can't simply buy cheese and flour from whoever offers you the best local price. You're required to purchase from franchisor-approved distributors, often at prices set through a centralized supply agreement you have no say in negotiating, and any deviation can be treated as a breach of contract, even if you found a cheaper, equally good cheese supplier 2 blocks away. You also need people, specific, hard-to-keep people. A trained general manager who can run kitchen operations, labor scheduling, and delivery logistics simultaneously during a Friday night rush, often commanding $45,000 to $65,000 a year at a busy location. Delivery drivers, who need clean driving records and reliable vehicles, and who are increasingly hard to retain now that gig apps offer more flexible hours for similar pay. Trained pizza makers who can hit consistent dough stretching and topping speed during peak volume, because a slow pizza maker during a Friday dinner rush doesn't just slow one order down, it backs up the entire kitchen line behind it. So that's the entry fee just to legally open the doors. Now let's talk about the actual product, the cheese, because here the supply chain is more concentrated and more volatile than most people realize. Mozzarella cheese pricing in the United States is tracked through the Chicago Mercantile Exchange's block cheese market, meaning your single most important ingredient is literally a commodity traded the same way oil or wheat is traded, with prices that can swing meaningfully based on national milk production, dairy herd health, and export demand you have zero control over. And here's the first trap. The advertised wholesale cheese price you see quoted rarely reflects what you'll actually pay once distributor delivery fees, minimum order requirements, and seasonal surcharges are factored in. Mozzarella prices have swung from under $1.50 a pound to over $2.80 a pound within a single calendar year during periods of tight milk supply, and for a chain going through tens of thousands of pounds a month across multiple locations, that swing alone can be the difference between a profitable quarter and a break-even one. Move from a single independent location to a multi-unit operation, and the numbers get considerably more painful. Building out 5 locations instead of 1 doesn't just multiply your equipment costs by 5, it multiplies your commercial kitchen build-outs, your walk-in cooler installations, your point-of-sale systems, and your delivery vehicle fleet all at once. A 5-location regional build-out can easily run $2 million to $4 million in combined capital before a single location has proven it can turn a consistent profit on its own. Here's where the first real decision point shows up. Do you build and staff your own delivery fleet, or do you hand delivery over to third-party platforms like DoorDash and Uber Eats? Building your own fleet means hiring drivers, insuring vehicles, and managing logistics software yourself. Expensive and complicated, but you keep the full ticket price and the customer relationship. Handing it to a delivery app means someone else handles the drivers and the logistics entirely. It also means giving up 15 to 30% of that order's revenue and commission, every single time, forever. Most independent pizza shops run what amounts to a hybrid model, a small in-house delivery staff for local orders during slow periods, supplemented by third-party apps during peak demand when their own drivers are maxed out. There's also a fuller commitment model some regional chains use, building an entirely proprietary delivery app and driver network to avoid third-party commissions altogether. It's expensive to build and maintain, but it removes the single largest bleeding wound in modern pizza economics, the commission cut. There's also a clever trick worth understanding, and once you see it, you'll never order pizza delivery the same way again. Many chains deliberately price their menu higher on third-party delivery apps than on their own website or in-house ordering system, sometimes by 10 to 20%, specifically to offset the commission the app takes and to nudge customers toward ordering direct instead. It sounds like a small detail. It's actually a deliberate pricing war being fought silently on every phone screen in America, between the restaurant and the app it depends on to bring customers through the door. So now you have your license, your suppliers, and your delivery strategy figured out. Time to decide what kind of pizza chain you're actually running, because there isn't just one way to do this. National franchises like Domino's or Papa John's operate on standardized recipes, centralized dough and sauce production facilities, and massive national marketing budgets funded by every franchisee's contribution. That scale gives you buying power on cheese and flour that an independent operator simply can't match. Regional independent chains, the kind with a loyal local following built over decades in a single metro area, skip the franchise system entirely. No royalty payments cutting into revenue, no corporate marketing fund, every recipe and supplier relationship controlled locally. It's harder to scale, and there's no national brand recognition doing the marketing for you. But it's usually where the highest per-location margins in the entire pizza business actually live, because there's no franchisor taking a cut of every single sale. And then there's the newer fast casual model. Build your own pizza concepts where customers watch their pie assembled fresh, and it bakes in a specialized high-speed oven in under 5 minutes. Lower average ticket than a full-service pizza chain, but dramatically faster table turn and lower labor cost per order, since much of the production line is customer-facing and self-directed rather than requiring a full traditional kitchen staff. Each model is really answering the same underlying question differently. Is your profit coming from doing enormous national volume at a slightly thinner margin per pie, or a smaller number of loyal local customers at a fatter one? Neither answer is wrong. But picking the wrong one for your specific market, especially underestimating how saturated a neighborhood already is with pizza options, is usually the single biggest mistake an owner makes before opening night. This brings us to one of the strangest hidden assets in the entire industry, the loyalty app. A pizza chain's rewards program isn't really about free breadsticks. It's a data collection engine that tells the company exactly which customers order every Friday, which zip codes are underperforming, and which promotions actually drive repeat visits versus which ones just give away margin for free. Some major pizza chains generate a meaningful share of digital order volume directly through their own app specifically because it lets them avoid third-party commission entirely while building a customer database worth more, long-term, than any single location's weekly sales. Now let's get into the costs that actually eat your revenue every single day, because this is where most people's mental math falls apart completely. Food cost typically runs 25 to 30% of menu price in a well-run pizza operation. But once you add third-party app commissions on delivery orders, which can represent 40 to 60% of total order volume for many chains today, your effective margin on a large share of your total sales can shrink dramatically, meaning the pizza that looked like a $13 profit on paper might actually net you $6 or $7 once the app has taken its cut. Labor is the other massive piece of the puzzle, usually running 28 to 32% of revenue. Entry-level pizza makers and counter staff often start near minimum wage, but in a tight labor market, that number climbs fast to keep enough staff showing up for a Friday and Saturday night rush that can represent 40% of your entire week's revenue in a single 48-hour window. A reliable general manager who can run the whole operation without daily oversight can command $50,000 to $70,000 a year, and losing one mid-year to a competitor can quietly cost a location weeks of lost efficiency while a replacement gets trained. And there's a quieter piece of history worth knowing here. For years, many delivery drivers working for pizza chains were paid a sub-minimum tipped wage plus a small per-delivery fee meant to cover vehicle wear and gas, a fee that in several documented cases didn't come close to covering actual mileage costs, especially as gas prices climbed. Several major chains have faced legal action and settlements over exactly this gap between what drivers were paid and what their actual delivery costs came out to, a quiet cost of doing business that rarely made it onto any menu or marketing campaign. Cheese prices are genuinely one of the scariest line items in this entire industry because you don't control the price, and it moves for reasons that have nothing to do with your restaurant. Dairy herd health, national milk production, and even weather events affecting feed crops thousands of miles away can spike mozzarella prices with almost no warning. A chain that built its entire pricing model around last year's cheese cost can find its single most important ingredient suddenly 20% more expensive heading into the next quarter. To manage this, some larger pizza chains sign forward purchasing contracts, locking in a cheese price months in advance the same way an airline locks in fuel prices. Sounds smart. Here's the trap. If dairy prices later fall, you're stuck paying the higher locked-in price anyway, sometimes for months, absorbing a cost disadvantage against smaller competitors who are buying cheese at the new, lower spot price while you're still locked into last quarter's deal. One major pizza chain tried something different. Rather than simply negotiating harder with cheese and flour suppliers, it built its own centralized dough production facilities, supplying every franchise location with pre-made, quality-controlled dough at a fixed internal cost instead of leaving each location to source flour and manage fermentation on its own. Analysts questioned the move at the time. A pizza company running industrial dough factories seemed like a distraction from running restaurants. But the logic was simple. When flour and yeast prices spike industry-wide, a chain with its own centralized production absorbs some of that volatility internally instead of passing all of it straight through to every single franchisee's bottom line. The lesson isn't build a dough factory. It's that in a business where you don't control your biggest cost, sometimes the only real hedge is owning a piece of the production process that creates the cost in the first place. Equipment maintenance in a pizza shop isn't optional, and it isn't cheap, because the entire kitchen is built around one piece of equipment running nonstop for 12 to 16 hours a day. A commercial conveyor pizza oven, the kind used in most high-volume chains, can cost $15,000 to $40,000 to replace, and when it breaks down mid-shift on a Friday night, there's no backup plan. The kitchen simply stops producing the one product the entire business exists to sell. A walk-in cooler failure overnight can spoil hundreds of pounds of cheese and dough before anyone arrives for the morning prep shift, a single mechanical failure erasing an entire week's ingredient inventory in hours. And delivery vehicles are their own universe of expense if you run an in-house fleet. Between routine maintenance, insurance premiums specifically covering commercial delivery use, and the accelerated wear and tear from constant stop-and-go city driving, a single delivery vehicle can cost $6,000 to $10,000 a year to keep on the road before a single accident claim. Multiply that across a fleet of a dozen vehicles for a busy multi-location operation, and vehicle costs alone can rival an entire location's rent. Then there's insurance, general liability, commercial auto coverage for every delivery vehicle, and workers' compensation covering a staff that includes drivers navigating traffic and kitchen staff working around high-heat ovens all day. Commercial auto insurance for a delivery fleet can run a multi-location chain tens of thousands of dollars a year, a cost most first-time owners drastically underestimate until the first renewal notice arrives with a number nobody budgeted for. And pizza chain owners get notoriously obsessive about shaving costs everywhere they can, in ways that sound almost comedic after a chapter full of six-figure numbers. Some chains have saved significant money annually simply by adjusting cheese portion weights by a fraction of an ounce per pizza across thousands of pies sold weekly, or renegotiating pizza box supplier contracts by fractions of a cent per box. It's the same instinct that once led an airline to save $40,000 a year removing a single olive from a first-class salad. In a business built on razor-thin margins, no cost is too small to matter. So that's the cost side. Relentless stack of expenses that exists whether it's a slow Tuesday afternoon or the busiest Friday night of the month. Now, let's talk about how you actually make money back, because this is where the story gets interesting. Fresh dough and prep toppings are some of the most perishable inventory in the entire restaurant industry. Dough that's been made and portioned but not sold within its shelf life becomes waste, pure lost cost with nothing recovered. So pizza chains build entire operational systems around forecasting daily demand almost to the pie, running limited-time specialty pizzas specifically to move ingredients approaching their use-by date, dressed up as a featured pizza of the month, rather than what it actually is, controlled inventory management happening in real time, every single day. This is precision-targeted revenue extraction, and it's happening on every pizza menu whether customers notice it or not. Combo deals bundling a pizza with breadsticks and a soda exists specifically to raise the average order value above what a customer intended to spend on a single pizza alone. Extra topping charges are priced disproportionately high compared to actual ingredient cost, since customers rarely question a $2 topping fee the way they'd scrutinize the base pizza price itself. It's not random. It's the same invisible system airlines use on ticket prices, just wearing a cardboard box instead of a boarding pass. Direct app ordering and loyalty programs quietly generate some of the highest margin sales in the entire business because they eliminate third-party commission entirely and encourage repeat behavior through points and rewards that cost the company far less than the 15 to 30% it would otherwise hand to a delivery platform. A customer who downloads the app and orders directly twice a month is worth dramatically more in lifetime value than a customer who only ever finds the chain through a delivery app search results page. And the real backbone of a long-running pizza chain isn't first-time customers discovering it through an app. It's regulars, the same family ordering the same large pepperoni every Friday night for years. Chains track this quietly through loyalty app data and order history, sending targeted reminders and personalized offers timed to exactly when a regular customer is statistically due for their next order, because the lifetime value of one loyal weekly customer vastly outweighs 100 one-time app searchers who never order again. Let's run the two scenarios, the way you'd actually have to think about it if you were the one signing the franchise agreement. The optimistic case: you secure strong locations in underserved neighborhoods, build a direct ordering app that captures 50% or more of total sales, avoiding heavy third-party commission, and cultivate a loyal weekly ordering customer base through targeted rewards. In this world, the pizza itself is almost a loss leader, and the real profit engine is the direct digital ordering channel and the recurring customer relationships built quietly behind it. The realistic case: cheese prices spike unexpectedly the same quarter your conveyor oven breaks down mid-shift on a Friday night. A new competitor opens 2 blocks away, offering aggressive delivery app discounts that pull your regulars away for cheaper deals. Your delivery drivers get poached by gig apps offering more flexible schedules for similar pay. Your margin, already sitting at a few percentage points after commissions, evaporates in a single bad quarter, the exact way it did for hundreds of independent pizza shops squeezed out by rising costs and app dependency in recent years. And here's a detail most people never think about until the lease renewal notice arrives. In many established neighborhoods, commercial rent for a small storefront pizza location has climbed so significantly over the years that rent alone can represent 8 to 12% of total revenue for a single unit, a cost that's climbed faster than pizza prices have been able to keep pace with, quietly squeezing margin that used to belong to the owner. Some independent owners look at all of this and ask whether franchising their own concept solves the problem. It can, and plenty of regional pizza chains grew that way. But it introduces the same tension every franchise system carries, giving up control over recipes, suppliers, and pricing to a franchisor structure, while collecting a royalty from every location, whether that specific market's cheese and labor costs cooperate that quarter or not. Several well-known pizza chains have filed for bankruptcy protection or gone through significant restructuring in recent years, and it's rarely one single mistake. It's usually the same combination landing at once: rising cheese and labor costs, aggressive discount wars with competitors racing each other to the bottom on price, and a growing dependency on third-party delivery apps that quietly eat into margin on every single order processed through them. Expertise in running a pizza chain doesn't protect an owner from a structural squeeze the entire industry is experiencing simultaneously. Some chains, desperate to compete on delivery app search results where price is often the deciding factor, have engaged in aggressive discounting, half-price large pizzas, deep percentage off codes, specifically to win the algorithm's attention on a crowded app screen. The trap is that once customers get used to ordering only during a discount window, raising prices back to normal levels afterward can crater order volume overnight, a discount habit that's extremely hard to reverse once it's been trained into your customer base. There's a newer volatility factor stacking on top of everything else. Cardboard pizza box costs have climbed with paper commodity prices in recent years, and some cities have introduced packaging regulations requiring more sustainable and more expensive delivery materials. It's not overwhelming yet, but it's a structural cost trend moving in one direction, upward, the same way carbon offset requirements have quietly added new costs to the airline industry over the last decade. So if you still want to own a pizza chain, understand what you're actually buying. You're not really buying a food business. You're buying a capital-intensive, thinly margined operation built around a commodity ingredient you don't control, distributed through a delivery app ecosystem that quietly takes a third of every transaction, competing in a neighborhood that's probably already saturated with pizza options before you've even signed the lease. The pizza is almost a cost of doing business, the thing that gets people to open the app in the first place. The real asset was never really the dough. It was the loyalty program quietly capturing customer data, the direct ordering channel avoiding commission entirely, and the regulars who've been ordering the same large pepperoni every Friday since before you owned the storefront. Because in the end, a pizza chain isn't built like a simple business. It's built more like a house made of load-bearing toppings, holding up a delivery fleet, holding up an app ecosystem, holding up a rent bill that keeps climbing whether cheese prices cooperate or not. And when every expensive piece is quietly leaning on every other expensive piece, the whole operation can look perfectly stable, right up until the night the oven breaks down on the busiest Friday of the month. If this gave you a new perspective, hit subscribe. History has the answers. I'll show you where to look.